Well, Shabbat Shalom. I just want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. This is Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And we just want to welcome all our family and friends that are here with us today by the telephone or internet, and maybe you're listening to the recording. We just want to invite everyone to go to the website, lunarsabbathday.com, because it's a great source of information about the creation calendar. There are a lot of articles there, videos there, a lot of documentation, and you can scroll down to the bottom of the events page and see when we're meeting. And our phone numbers and times are there. And so we hope you'll join us. So today our discussion about the original timekeeping system is about the 13th month. And I think a lot of us are hearing about the 13th month, and actually we are seeing a 13th month this year. So I thought we would go ahead and do some explanations about it. So we'll be covering some of these topics. Why is there a 13th month this spring, 2020? And what is ADAR2? And did Ezekiel have a 13th month? What is the Metonic cycle? And what does Moonrise and Moonset degrees tell us? March Passover in 2019. We were maybe a month earlier than some of you. And why is Passover April 6th this year, 2020? So I wanted to give some of these explanations in this study. Whoa, I don't know what happened to my screen. It went crazy on me. Everybody just hold on. What's going on?
Cameras are on. That may be slowing things down.
Okay. Well, there. Did the screen go blank for you? It went blank for me. Okay. All right. All right. Here's the first slide about the 13th month, and we'll just go ahead and get started.
Sure. In order to keep the lunar year aligned with the solar year, a 13th month must sometimes be added. There are 7 13th lunation years in every 19th year cycle. This is called the Metonic cycle. This makes the calendar truly lunisolar. These adjustments are somewhat similar to the extra day of a leap year, the Gregorian calendar.
Okay, so the 13th month is put in there approximately every 3 years.
Today, a calendar based on the moon and the sun requires a 13th month approximately every 3 years. Originally, it was not so. The lunar and solar cycles were both 360 days. Presently, the lunar year is 11 days shorter than the solar year, meaning that after 3 years, the lunar cycle would be 33 days off, necessitating an additional month. The Hebrews called this month Vedar, meaning second Adar.
Okay, so this ADAR2 when there's 13 months. And so it is true that there's no 13th month on the solar or sun-based Gregorian calendar, but however, the Creator's calendar is not a solar-only calendar. It's a lunisolar calendar.
A lunisolar calendar ties lunar months to a solar year. The average lunar year is 354 days long. This is 11 days short of the 365-day long solar year.
And I heard a little background. Somebody might want to mute their phone or their computer. So, okay, thank you, Brother Pete. And I hope you guys are seeing the screen. If you're not seeing the screen, I hope you will watch the recording link so you can see the charts and graphs we're going to have on here today. So when you recognize the obvious fact that the scriptural months are lunar, it is a necessity that the 13th month be added approximately every 2 to 3 years, 7 times in 19 years. And I'll probably say that a few times in here. And if this is not done, the festivals will be 11 days shorter every strictly solar year that goes by, and that would put the festivals out of their season. And that's what happens to the Muslim calendar, which ignores the 13th month, and their festivals throughout the year get off from the seasons. So here's an example of a little bit of a Muslim calendar in 2019 and 2020. And I can't read my note. I'll just...
On strictly lunar calendars, such as the Muslim Hijri calendar, calendar dates float backwards through the year. This is why, from one year to another, Ramadan always occurs earlier in the year than the year before.
Okay, then I've got, 2018, it was in May 16, then 2019, May 5, and 2020, April 23. But they can get off season. They can happen in the winter because it just keeps going. But they don't reset with the 13th month. So, okay, now we've kind of covered that a little bit. So I hope you're taking notes. Anybody that wants to ask a question or make a comment. And now we're going to talk a little bit about Ezekiel and the 13th month. Is the 13th month in the book of Ezekiel?
Now, in Ezekiel 4, 1 through 11, he is giving instructions by Yahweh to lay on his left side for 390 days. And when he accomplished this, he is to then lay on his right side 40 days, equaling a total of 430 days. That's 390 plus 40 is 430 days.
So Ezekiel saw more than just a wheel in the sky. He also saw and understood the Creator's calendar. A 13th month is located in Scripture by this example in Ezekiel. And we're going to be doing some of the math here, but you'll have to go study this for yourself because we don't have a lot of time to go into it. But we'll go ahead and read this.
The next time reference to Ezekiel is found in chapter 8, verse 1, where we see that Ezekiel is sitting in his house in the 6th year of King Jehoiakim's captivity on the 5th day of the 6th month. This shows that Ezekiel had finished his instructions given in chapter 4 because he was sitting in his house and not laying on either his left or his right side. If Ezekiel was using a strict solar calendar, he could not have possibly obeyed Yahweh's instructions by the time reference given in Ezekiel 8:1. From the 11th day of the 4th month, in the 5th year of Jehoiakim, this is Ezekiel 1, 1 through 2, 2 and verse 7, and 3 and verse 15. To the 5th day of the 6th month, on the 6th year of Jehoiakim, that's Ezekiel 8:1, is only 413 days on a strictly solar calendar, that is 17 days short. Using 12 lunar months, this accounts for only 403 days, which is 27 days short. If Ezekiel used a solar-only calendar, he disobeyed Yahweh. However, had this particular year consisted of 13 months, a lunar solar year, Ezekiel obeyed the instructions from Yahweh to the letter, as this 13th month was 29 days long, giving him plenty of time to lay on his side for the remaining 27 days.
Okay, so solar calendar, it would have only been 413 days, and just a 12-month calendar, then 403. So it's a 13 lunar month, it was 4:30. So this is an article. I'll send the attachment. It's something that Troy wrote up, and it's pretty interesting. Oh, I guess. Okay, well, go ahead and read the rest of it here.
Mm-hmm. Keep in mind that Ezekiel 4:9 through 10 shows that Ezekiel was told to make enough bread to last him the entire 430 days. I have given the solar-only people the best possible scenario available, taking for granted that Ezekiel made all of this bread in one day, that is on the 11th day of the 14th month. If we factor in the making of 20 shekels of bread, Ezekiel 4:9 through 10, for each day on his side, this even further destroys the notion of a strictly solar calendar, because the time span would decrease for the solar-only people if it took him longer than one day to make the bread.
Okay, then I have the study text over here on the side, and I hope you'll get the recording or pause the screen and write them down from Ezekiel. Okay, so that was an example of a 13th month with Ezekiel, and now we'll go to the Metonic cycle, and that explains more about why sometimes there's a 13th month.
All calendars require some form of intercalation. This means that in order to keep the calendar months aligned with the correct seasons, additional time must occasionally be added. In the modern Gregorian calendar, used the world over, the extra time comes in the form of a leap day every 4th year when an extra day, February 29th, is added.
Okay, and there it is. We're going to have it this year. But a leap year in the Jewish calendar or the calendar of Israel is what we're keeping. It has 13 months, and that occurs 7 times in a 19-year cycle. And in Hebrew, a leap year is referred to as Shana, Beret, or pregnant year. I probably said that wrong. Okay.
I might add in the last slide that there's actually other days that are intercalations, and that is that the alternate months having different days, different numbers of days, is all done to correct this problem.
Yes, that's right. Some are 28, some are 30 and 31. Yes, that's right. Thank you, Brother Pete. Okay, a little bit more about the Metonic cycle.
The Creator's calendar also requires intercalation. This is done by the addition of an extra month, the 13th month, in an embryolysmic, I'm going to leave that one alone, year. Embolismic year, let's call it that. A unisolar calendar, on the other hand, anchors the lunar months to some event within the solar year. Because the lunar year is 11 days shorter than the solar year, it is sometimes necessary to add a 13th month to realign the lunar year with the solar year. Years containing 13th months are called embryolysmic years. These embryolysmic years fall into a very predictable 19-year Metonic, a Greek astronomer, is typically credited with being the first to discover this cycle. In actuality, he merely introduced to the West the astronomical principle discovered by Kidinu or Sidenas, a Babylonian astronomer from around the same time period.
Okay, and thank you, Brother Pete, and for volunteering to help me with the reading. And I know you haven't laid eyes on this stuff before, and it is tricky. They're very tricky words and names. Okay, well, the 13th month. Okay, we'll go ahead with that.
First lunar year equals 354 days long, or 12 lunations long, 11 days shorter than the solar year. The second lunar year, 354 days or 12 lunations long, now 22 days shorter than the solar year. Third ulunation year is 384 days or 13 lunations long. This now catches up with the solar year.
Okay, so the lunisolar calendars, on the, at some point within the solar year, they need to anchor to that shorter year. And this anchor point requires that every 2 or 3 years, a 13th month is intercalculated. And that's usually in the spring, and we know that the first month is in the spring with Passover. And the embolismic years, we don't necessarily go by those. Those were discovered by the scientists. It's a good example, but it doesn't mean we exactly have to go by that. That's a good example of how it needs to be interjected.
There are 7 embolismic years within the 19-year cycle. The pattern of common versus embolismic years is as follows. Embolismic years, and we have a chart here, and I will accentuate the ones in white, and I will accentuate the ones in black. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There are never 2 embolismic years in a row. There are never more than 2 common years before there is another embolismic year.
Okay, thank you. So we're through with that Metonic cycle. And so now we're going to be showing the reasoning behind keeping the 13th month this year in 2020. And I want to thank Brother Joseph that's here with us today for helping figure some of this out and for teaching me some of these things and teaching all of our group. So anyways, why are we going to have a 13th month this year? Here are some of the reasons. There are on the internet and moon phase calendars for the angle of March 20 and April 20. 2020 and April 2020. So these are, we're going to be discussing some of these charts. And this only, I got to move this thing. Oops, I went backwards, sorry. This only happens 2 times a year, and it's the full, I can't see what I've got there. It only happens 2 times a year to announce the full moon of the spring fall feast that will be in 2 weeks. So the new moon sets at 270 degrees due west, and the new moon rises 90 degrees due east. So we're going to go through some of the charts, but here is a circle with a line drawn through it, west and east. East is 90 degrees, west is 270. And so the moon setting at 270 degrees will be right on, or if not close, to the 270. So here, okay, why do this? The importance of this timeline is it's really exciting to find this timeline that Brother Joseph explained to us. To calculate what month of the lunar timekeeping you're in, you can use it, and to calculate the full moon for the feast days. And that's by the position of the setting new moon 2 weeks before. And we can see this on the computer, or you can use a protractor or a compass, and calculating the time of the spring and fall feast. Okay, we're going to go and look at a chart. Okay, this, and I got to get this out of the way so I can see. Okay, 2 weeks preceding the full moon, the new moon is setting on the west at 270 degrees. The full moon rises at 90 degrees 2 weeks later. So, okay, this will show 2020, the spring feast. Okay, March 21st 24, 2020, the moon will set at 270 degrees. That's 2 weeks before the full moon. And here's the chart, March 24. And you can look this up. I'll leave a link for it. And here is the 270 degrees. Now, that's announcing when you can tell that or use that to know when the Passover and unleavened bread full moon will rise. So 2 weeks later, right on schedule, April 7, 2020, the full moon will rise at the, it says 93 here, so 90 or close to 90, and this was the most exact date. It would set at 271, but it would rise at 90. So let's see. So March 24 is New Moon Day. April 6 is Passover. And the Unleavened Bread Feast begins April 7, 2020. So you'll probably have to go over it and stop the screen and look at this. And Brother Joseph, do you have anything to add? Am I saying this okay for you if you're there?
This is Joseph. Yes,
Yeah.
I believe that you laid it out much more easily to understand than what maybe I did. But the crescent setting moon 2 weeks before the full moon of Passover will be setting there at 270 or within 1 or 2 degrees of that, due west in the western horizon, and the full moon will rise 2 weeks later right at 90 degrees, which is due east. And the thing that maybe I should point out, that I don't know whether you mentioned it this time or not, but the full moon is determined very easily by watching the time that the sun sets and the full moon rises should be within 10 or no more than 15 minutes from each other. And that way you know that it is the night of the full moon. The night preceding the night of the full moon, the moon will be up in the sky about 1 hand width as you look towards the eastern sky. It'll be about 4 fingers width as you face south with your left arm extended towards the east and your hand bent. And that's what we call 1 hand width. So you can tell which night the full moon is by the fact that it rises just within minutes of when the sun sets. The night after the full moon will not come up from the eastern horizon for approximately 45 minutes to an hour after the sun is set, so you know that it's the night after the full moon in case you miss it. So that'd be all I would add. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Brother Joseph, and I appreciate you getting on and being here with us today. So I just wanted to explain this only happens 2 times a year. That's how we're double-checking when the Passover will be. We're double-checking it with this 270 of Moonset 2 weeks before the moon rises at 93, which is April 7th. So it's a double check that we can do to make sure we're on the right time schedule. Well, my screen went totally black again for some reason. Okay, now I wanted to check the fall feast with it because it only happens 2 times a year. But 2 weeks preceding the full moon, the new moon is setting on the west at 270 degrees. So this only happens twice a year, like Brother Joseph said. And I had a note down here. It says, you know, after this 270, the next month after Passover, it increases 10 degrees more to 280, then 10 degrees more till it reaches 300 degrees in the summer months. And then it starts falling back till it's back at 270 for the fall feast. So this information gives us another way to double check and make sure we're on the right times. So September 17, here's the closest numbers I could get to the 270 when the moon's setting. September 17 at 274. And September 18, 266, so it's right there. Okay, so 2 weeks later, the full moon rises at 90 degrees, or 84. So this is September 17, the moon setting at 274, October 1, rising at 90. So this shows that our schedule is on time because this only happens twice a year. The moon setting at 270 and the new moon setting at 270 and the full moon rising at 90 2 weeks later at the time of our feast. So the fall feast will be trumpets, will be our new moon, and that's going to be September 18. And then Tabernacles 2 weeks later will start October 2nd. So this moon setting at 270 and rising at 90 only happens at the time of Passover in the spring and Tabernacles in the fall. So it's a good way to be able to double check. And and then I put on this chart why we started early last year for the spring feast. We may have been a month earlier than some of the people you know, but you look again, the moon set, this is March 7, 2019, the moon set at 265, the next day 271. So 2 weeks later, the full moon for the Passover rose at 84 and 92, those 2 days, March 20 and 21. And we did have Passover March 20 and unleavened bread feast March 21. So it's a double check of are we right? It's something we can check with these degrees if we're on the right month and the right feast days. So it's very interesting, and you can go back and look at these charts, and you can also go look for Moonrise, Moonset charts on the internet. And I'll leave a link below. So, okay, and then, well, the moon is to mark the seasons, and it does mark it. And we can even learn how to find out the degrees and know when the seasons start. So I thought that's really interesting. And here's the YouTube we did with Brother Joseph reading the night clock in the sky, and I'll leave the link below so you can hear him discussing several other signs in the heavens that you can look for. So now we'll go forward into one more evidence about why we're having a 13th month this year.
Further evidence to consider in a 13th month this spring 2020. Gregorian calendar will have 2 new moons in the same month. For example, in 2019, there are 2 moons in August, announcing that there will be a 13th month in the spring of 2020. This combination have consistently proven true without fail over the last 20 years. Tony Perrigan discussed this in his recording link about 15 minutes into the call, titled A 13th Month, The Divine Precision of the Lunar-Solar Calendar. Link.
Okay, yes. And that's, yeah, you can look for the link below. I'll leave the link for this recording because he came on and he explained to us that was another reason why we knew we would be having a 13th month, this 13-month year, because this is August 19 and we had new moon August 1st and we had new moon August 30. And that was just another confirmation that we used to know that this would be a year for 13 months. And this the spring would be when we'll keep the 13th month. Okay, and so now we'll go forward to the spring feast of 2020. Why are we keeping the spring feast 2020? Well, April 6th will be Passover, but we'll go through that chart again. But there are other signs that we're looking forward to as to why it will be in April. I heard some people on Facebook kept Passover already, and others maybe the 6th of March. For that to be the case, to me, they would have to find the barley in the end of February, and because I do look for the barley to be ripe. But so we are trying to show why we'll be keeping it in April. And here we go.
Because the Earth is slightly tilted, the angle of the crescent moon changes, and sometimes the crescent seems to be lying on its side, with its two ends pointing up like horns. At these times, the moon looks a bit like a bowl or a smile.
And then for those of you that can see the screen, you'll see the moon looks like a smile. It's got the two horns, the crescent. This is after the Sabbath. Well, it's New Moon Day, after New Moon Day, let's say that, day one of the month. When the crescent appears, it will look like this, and that is only at the time of Passover. And I like what Brother Joseph said. It was the bowl holding the blood of Yeshua. It's a little bowl. It looks like a bowl that it could hold that sacrificial blood. And so we did see that last year, too. Before March, when we had our Passover, we did see that bowl-shaped crescent. So that was another confirmation for us to start the year early in March.
The first month of the year will begin March 24th, 2020, New Moon Day. Passover, Aviv 14, will be April 6th, 2020, and the full moon will announce the Sabbath of unleavened bread, Aviv 15. The week of unleavened bread will be April 7th through 13th, 2020. Ripe barley should be found in Israel at some point during the second or third week of March, because that is what barley does. Barley ripens in time for wave sheaf in the first Hebrew month. The Bible says it must be Aviv or Aviv for wave sheaf on the 16th of the first month. The bowl-shaped crescent will be seen the evening of March 25th or 26th, depending upon your location on the earth. Watch for it. This is the only month of the year when the horns of the crescent are nearly flat across the top. This is the appearance of the moon spoken of in Exodus 12:2, when Yahweh was first pointing out to Moses and Aaron how to identify the first month of the year.
Okay, so what is the month of Aviv in the Bible? And that is talking about barley. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. The month of the Hebrew calendar, when the barley has reached or passed this stage, Exodus 13:4, 23:15, is called Aviv, or the month of the Aviv. The first of the biblical ecclesiastical year. It begins about the time of the northern spring equinox. The basic meaning of the word Aviv is the stage in the growth of grain when the seeds have reached full size and are filled with starch, but not yet dried. During the plague of hail in Exodus 9:31, the barley was said to be in the Aviv stage, and the flax in the Aviv oil, which resulted in their destruction. See Wikipedia on Aviv.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that's from the Wikipedia. And so the word Aviv, the name of the month, means that the barley is ripe. And this day, Exodus 13:4, this day came ye out in the month of Aviv, or Aviv. And then Exodus 23:15, celebrate the feast of unleavened bread for 7 days. Eat bread made without yeast as I command you. Do this at the appointed time in the month of Aviv. So it's in the month of the ripe barley. Whoops there. Okay, so then here is the chart again showing the spring feast for 2020. That the moon set was 270. 2 weeks later, that was the new moon setting, 270 in the west. And then in 2 weeks later, April 7, showing the full moon rising at that 90 degrees again. So that was just another confirmation that March 24 will be new moon day, and April 6 will be Passover, and unleavened bread week begins April 7. So, that is the end of this PowerPoint, and I just am thankful Brother Pete helped me read, and I think we'll close the recording for now and be able to get this out to everybody. But everybody, please stay around. And let me see, here we go. Everybody stay around and we'll have discussion. So thank you everybody for being here today. And I do want to invite everybody to the Passover Unleavened Bread Week we'll be having here in North Florida. So please go to the website and you can see the invitation there. So Shabbat Shalom.